pins or clips? I don't know. So I went to my sewing group, did a survey. I'll tell you what they said. Coming up. Hey, Chanel here, bringing you weekly videos to help you get better and better with your fashion sewing and be more creative too. So be sure to subscribe and hit that notification bell so you never miss out on a new video. All right, I run a sewing school here, and I have some of my students are asking me about the clips. And I actually had one of my students buy me a box of clips. One of our fabric stores went out of business and they were like 75% off. But one little drawback is these are a little pricey. These are about $33, and this is the Clover brand, which is probably one of the best brands. But $33 for a thing of clips is a lot. I can imagine that stepping on them a lot if they fall on the floor and stuff, and then they're goners. And stepping on pins, you know, as long as it's not straight up, you're okay. Speaking of pins and pricing wise, I found these new magic pins right here. These are about $10 for 50 of them, and these work really great. They're I guess they kind of have a little grip handle on them, and they're easier to use. And they're called magic pins, but they're like silk pins. They're longer, and I think they're thinner and sharper. They work really good. But these Wonder Clips, one thing I do really like about them is they're magnetic, and they kind of hold on to these things. So I think I actually haven't tried this yet, but see, they're not that magnetic. So these, I love my magnetic pin cushion. I've been using it forever. Best invention ever. I wish I invented it. But so I have clips or pins. What is the best? Now this is the best for fashion sewers. I can see, I just stabbed myself with the pin. I can see quilts and putting binding on and stuff. Putting these clips is probably really great, really holds it in there. But if you are a long-time sewer like myself, you're probably just really good at pinning, and just you can handle these really well, and you're like really well. But so we probably like to stick to pins. And I did a little survey in my sewing group, and I know a lot of the ladies were saying, now these are for fashion sewers, I think I said that. They're all saying, I'm old-fashioned, I still really like my pins, and she says, never use clips, but I would love to try them out. So far I've only used pins, and that was like, that's me. I thought, I'm going to try these clips. My student gave me these about 6 months ago, actually almost a year ago, and I thought, I gotta really try these. I don't know. Can't teach an old dog new tricks, right? But this one says, I use pins mostly, but when I use my serger, I use clips. That way I can't sew over them and mess it up. That's a good point, because the serger, you know, has a little knife, and it stops it from going over. So, and sergers move really fast, so that's actually a really great point. This one said, she said, both they have their uses. I'm so sick of being stuck, but sometimes I have to use pins. Yeah, these stick you a lot. So, but you get used to it. And I know my students are always like, oh, I got stuck, and my kid ones. And then I'm like, I've stuck myself many times, and it's just part of it. And it really doesn't hurt after a while. I think a lot of it's in your head. Sometimes you can get yourself pretty good, and then you're like, oh my God, especially when it goes underneath the nail. But these are, when I was sewing with them, I was sewing and they were like trying to, you know, pull them off, and then I always put everything to the right. I have a little magnet that's to the right, and I'm used to like that, in efficiency mode. And so then they kind of pile up, and then they just start falling all over the floor. And then when you step on these, they hurt too. So, and also they break, and at $32, you know, I heard they kind of came down in price a little bit. Also, buy the quality ones. Don't go cheaping out on these, because I think they would probably break pretty fast, and then they're the same price anyway when you got to keep buying more. Anyway, this one says, I use pins mostly. That was the serger one. I use pins when I sew. When I embroider, I use clips to hold stuff out of the way. So that's a really good thing if you're embroidering. This other one, she said pins mostly, but some thicker stuff, clips are useful. So I'm thinking clips. Also, there's a lady in here who talked about plaids, like matching up stripes and plaids. That's a great way, because she said sometimes you're sewing over and it shifts off, but I wonder if it shifts off with clips too. I'm actually going to be doing a stripe class for my students. I'm using stripes, so I have to try it with the clips. Then we have, I bought some clips at Joann's, and I swear you have to be the Incredible Hulk to open them. I'm sticking with pins for now, she said. Then it says, I use both. I use clips on long straight pieces, but clips on things like neck bands and sleeve insets. So I can imagine when you're working with the sleeves, putting the clips, that might work pretty good too. So that's a good point. And then we have, I use both depending on my needs. I got 100 clips in a cup handled tin for $9. Pretty good deal. So did you get them on Amazon? I just bought one, still in its package. So I guess Amazon's got a big thing, big tin of them. So there you go. Also, I just find for me, they're just not efficient. It's a lot of tools, and then they get all over the table. So I'm very efficient sewer. I have a tool tray that I keep everything in, and they would have to have their own little cubby in my tool tray for them to go around. So that's one thing too. Also, what I like to do is when I'm pinning, or when I take some things out, and also you can sew over pins. You just have to make sure your face isn't real close to the machine so that it doesn't, in case the needle hits it. But like if I'm doing velvets and stuff, I'll actually put a lot of pins so that the naps stick together, and I'll sew right over the pins, so it actually works. Works really good. I like that people are not sewing over pins nowadays. In my day when I was really young, we just all sewed over them. So, but they have, I've had them jam into machines several times and then break a lot of needles. But these, when I put this on the table, I just go, and all the pins come out, and then I come in here and swoop them up like that. And also, when I put all my pins to the right of my machine, I just swoop all these up. Actually, when my students are sewing and they have a pile of pins, I just pick them up. And I think that these probably, you might get about 10 of them on there. So that was one of my little cons. They're just, it's a lot of tools are just really what you learn to use. So if you really started out on clips, that's what you're going to be great at. So that's one thing. I wrote a pro and con list. Con is hurts when they step on. They're cumbersome. Also, you need pins for cutting. So I lay out my patterns on the grain lines and pin close to the edge of the pattern and cut it. I have seen some people on YouTube don't even use pins. I don't get that, but I was taught about grain lines and having it really accurate so that it hangs beautifully. I did a lot of couture sewing when I was younger, and had a business with evening gowns. So yeah, I don't just put things on and cut around them. Also, they don't fit on the magnet. And also they slide off. And also, if you have a bunch of these clips and you're going, into the sewing machine like this, and they're like like that on the table. So that's for me. Pros is hold thick fabrics. Definitely going to be using them for that. Like if you're using, like making a corset with a lot of really stiff interfacing and layers and boning and stuff like that, and you've got to clip them, that's probably great. Pro is that they're magnetic. They also, they don't dull out like some needles. The pins, you poke things and sometimes they'll dull out. And sometimes nowadays, they're getting cheaper making these. They'll come out dull too, so that they really can poke, snag fabric too, which is, these little things look like they don't. So they got a nice little gripper on them. And the other pro is they don't stab you. That's probably the biggest pro. Anyway, back to my group here, said the bulkier stuff, pins. A lot of people were saying I'm old-fashioned. I like to still use the pins, so I was glad to see that, because I was wondering, like, am I missing the boat? Am I, this new thing comes out and I'm just can't see it. So, and I'm not using it. So, I have my clips here in my studio. I'm going to use them when I can, but I'm probably just always going to stick with the pins. Also, I like these quilting pins. I like the bigger ones. They're easier to grab. And then they also have little silk pins out. I found some blue ones, but I used to always use these white ones. This was pretty much all I ever used in my evening gown days because they're thin and sharp, and they go through silk charmeuses and stuff really well. And so if you're sewing with fine things, make sure you're using the silk pins. And they're also glass, so you can iron right over them and they don't melt. So that's a good thing. And then we got the new magic pins. We're going to be trying these, trying to get used to them. So don't iron over these quilting ones because it's plastic. So I'm sure you can't iron over these either. But anyway, that is my take on pins versus clips. And let me know in the comments below what you use and what you prefer. And have you tried them, or are you did you kind of just learn sewing with one or the other and can't seem to change over? Or tell me your thoughts. Anyway, I will see you in the next sew bit.